Okay, so I'm gonna do a quick explanation and clarity to with what I was saying and where I was coming from when I was on Oceans of Daughters video. I think it was Friday night, so that I am not continued to be misrepresented on videos. First off, okay, I am not apologizing to anyone for whatever life they lived outside of me being involved with them, for their emotional or psychological pain and hurt. I don't have anything to do with that. When I referred to my life and what I have experienced in relation to the conversation, please keep in mind all black women are not a monolith. I did not grow up in the hood, and I'm not putting any shade or any disrespect on that, but I was actually a very well-off little black girl, and I lived in Queens Village in New York City, which is a very well-to-do area of Queens. My parents were narcotically dysfunctional. However, they still were able to maintain owning a brownstone and allowing us to go to Catholic school. My grandparents, like any other grandparents, did not like the fact that literally drug addicted parents were raising 6 children. Okay. So the drug use was a result of my father being 17 and drafted to the Vietnam War. I don't know how many of you even know what that is. He came back addicted to heroin, and he introduced that to my mother. Myself and my siblings were adopted by our grandparents legally, and I went from 49 West 130th Street in Harlem to another home, an actual residential home, from a 3-story brownstone that my parents owned to a 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom home in Queens Village. I did not grow up around black women who were, so to speak, lacking self-esteem, lacking money, or feeling that their sons were more important than their daughters. We didn't live like that. I have always gone to either Catholic school or private school. When I did live in Louisiana as a little girl, because that is where my foremothers are from on my mother's side, I went to Catholic school. And anybody who's really from Louisiana, you know that most of the parishes have private schools, and they have public schools and Catholic schools, and most of the public schools are Catholic schools. The town that I was raised in Shreveport, was an all black town. There were no white people there, and we were really, really far out by ourselves. We did not speak English as a first language. We spoke American Creole, which is what I speak to this day. My father and his people are Gullah Geechee people from the actual Gullah Islands off of the coast of the Carolinas. All right. He also spoke a different language that I was never taught, that is indigenous to the Native Americans and the specific Africans that were taken to that island. In my childhood, I was raised as a Creole little girl. Now, a lot of you may not know anything about Creole, which I clearly see you don't, because you always seem to liken Creole to lightness of skin and funny eyes and straight hair, when Creole in Louisiana is a culture. It is not about the octoroons, quadroons, or mulattoes. It is not about that. So being born in Manhattan and literally being raised in Shreveport, Louisiana, in the town I was from, I was immersed in rich, thick black culture. Black women taught love of self. Same thing with the boys. Not speaking English, we were a different type of folk, okay, where the things, the normalities of what you're talking about that happens in the inner city, I did not experience, nor do I want to. Boys and girls in my household took out trash together. My brothers, uncles, cousins, and father and grandfather, most especially, who was very prominent in our household, did the same thing women did. If you know anything about Creole culture, sometimes the men are more of a better chef than the women. They're always cooking, they clean, and it's not like, I would say, with the commercial inner city living, sort of like what Marvin Gaye was singing about, is likened to be our lifestyles, all of us collectively, when that's not true. So when I said that I didn't experience that, nor did anybody in my community, I meant that, and it was true. Because I did not live in the circumstances and situations you're talking about. And I don't think not all black women do. As much as y'all like to present that as a trope of who black women are, it's simply not true. It's not. So, and even to today, and even how I raised my children was not the stereotypical tropes of black women and black life that you use. My black children went to private school. Almost all of my children graduated from, in Queens, St. Francis Prep High School. They went on to Catholic universities. My 3 older children graduated from Barry University in Miami Shores. I do not live, nor did I live, the life that you're trying to stereotypically try to give me. When my children were small, they had a nanny. They had a babysitter to walk them to and from home from school. And she also drove them to track practice, gymnastics, swimming, and kiddie college. I had 2 husbands, both affluent. One was an engineer. The other one was a motorman for MTA in New York City. They both made a lot of money, close to $100,000 a year back then. All right, in comparison to now. I had 2 homes within my marriage and the raising of both sets of my children. And I do understand that there are a lot of you on here that listen to people about me who don't know what they're talking about. And they tell you shit like I am, what is the dumb shit DZ was saying about me? Like I was a mother thuns or whatever the fuck it is y'all say. I have sons and I have daughters. I have more than one daughter and I have more than one son. In total, I have 7 children. I don't need to tell you their names, ages, and all that, because it's actually none of your business. But I have a lot of children, and I love and respect all of them. And in my home, because of my culture, right? Je suis des Creoles habités de New York et ici Louisiana. So I lived both things, and I was taught both ways. So I ate etouffee, I ate collard greens, and I ate gumbo, and I ate fried chicken. So my life and my experience is not what you're trying to make me out to be as the stereotypical black woman from whatever city it is you think I come from and was raised in, struggling to feed my children, not going to good schools, and having a dysfunctional home to the point where I was severely neglected. even though both my parents were on narcotic, they managed to maintain the brownstone we lived in and take care of the tenants that we had on the second and third floor, as my family lived in the basement and the first floor of that 3-story brownstone. The reason we were removed was because my grandparents, being who they were, the beliefs they had, the culture, the religion they believed in, which was correct, felt that addicts should not be raising children. And I would think all of you would agree with the fact that drug addicts should not be raising children. So we were adopted by our maternal and paternal grandparents, right? So, sorry, maternal grandparents, because paternal would have been my father's mother and father, and it wasn't that. It was my mom's. So I made a mistake. So anyway, my grandparents put my mother in a detox program. My other grandparents tried to do the same with my father, but because he was suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome or whatever it is, PTSD from the military, it was difficult to treat him. As a result, he was literally institutionalized to get him back on the straight and narrow. They had to forcibly deal with him. They had to go to court, get a mental health warrant, and put his ass into care. He completed his care. He came out and became functional. We were never given back to our parents in terms of them having parental rights over us, but our parents were active in our lives and we visited them all the time. We even did stay and live with them from time to time, but they had no rights over us. So I went from the brownstone that my parents owned and rented out to other people in Harlem to the big fucking house that my grandparents' parents owned in Louisiana, which was from my grandmother's mother, who was raped by the white man who owned her and who provided her with much land and a huge fucking house and a business. So I went from the brownstone in Harlem to the big ass house in Louisiana back to my 5-bedroom house in Queens Village, New York. During all that cultural travel, I was immersed in love of black women and love of blackness and love of self, which is why when I heard Oceans of Daughter refer to or inquire why I go around to other people's channels looking for sisterhood, that is what I'm doing. Because I was not raised, nor do I have the mindset the way most black women do today, of hating other black women and feeling like I should either snub or be rejecting of other black women because they are either younger or older than me. That's not who I am. There are some discrepancies in her video that she made, and I'm only going to talk on the things that pertain to me in particular, and all the rest of that stuff I don't care about, right? She had mentioned something about me attending a Black Femicide March in California in relation to the LGBT. I have no idea where she got that, but that is incorrect. The Black Femicide March that I wanted to attend in California was done by Ori, who used to work directly with Rosa and Cha-Cha, who has passed away. I was attempting to get in touch with Ori the entire time after Cha-Cha passed away, God bless the dead, until the event. I was not able to. So I flew all the way out to California to attend a march that did not happen. And for those of you that actually follow my channel and who are not caught up in this separation of generations of age and who believe in all of this, I'm a this one and I'm a that one and this and that and old versus young, and you're just women that come to respect and care about other black women just because they exist, If you come to my channel, you will know I already did that video about how disappointed I was to go all the way out to California and find that there was no event to be held. There was no march that day, and there was no notice of the cancellation of the march that I so eagerly wanted to attend, because I love Black women and I love our future, our past, and our present. And when these women on here are attacking and feel like, you know, they have decided to elect to make me the black sheep of YouTube, it doesn't affect me in the ways that they would like. It does hurt my feelings that Black women can be so psychologically affected by slavery and today's society that they find it so easy to gang up on Black women just because it makes them feel good, because they are truly like nasty people inside, right? So that is a discrepancy where she doesn't know what she's talking about. I have never aligned myself with anyone that, you know, to my knowledge, and Ori, to my knowledge, is not a LGBT. All right, she's a Black woman who also attended the Washington, D.C. Black Femicide March with me, Rosa, and Cha-Cha. And those of you that follow my channel know that, because I posted and streamed live from the event. To wrap this up, I want to say that, not to sound like crazy elitist, but sorry, I ain't that person. I ain't that stereotypical Black woman you trying to paint me out to be. I was not struggling to survive. I wasn't taught the ideology of worshiping little Black boys over little Black girls. And no matter how much you try to make it out to be that way, that is not the fact. And it doesn't matter to me if you continue. But I just wanted to clear the air on a few things. And the last thing I'm going to say before I go finish eating my chips and dip that I've made here before I decided to put this video up was that, what was the last thing there? Oh, I am not your beast of burden. I don't owe it to you to soften your emotional distress or whatever wounded inner child you got going on from however you were raised, or whatever you think about Black women collectively as a group. I don't own that. I am never going to apologize for that. And I am never going to sit there and allow other people to take out their personal issues on me and blame me for stuff that I have never had anything to do with. Nor am I going to degrade or dehumanize the women that attended Freaknik, or who did put their boys over their daughters, or didn't raise their children to the best of their ability, because that's not my job, right? And again, I'll try to make the point clearer this time. To blame and shame Black women doesn't get the job done. We have had centuries of respectability politics enforced onto Black women, making us the type of women that suffer in silence all the time. So if you have Black women on YouTube that want to have problems between Black women concerning the different generations in age, go for it. Keep the, like I said before, keep the riff going to the point where you're going to only be the one that suffers the most in the end, because I'm good and I have always been good. My girls and my sons are good as well, as are my grandsons and my granddaughters, because I made sure of that. I've spoken to you guys plenty of times about generational wealth and how I do things, and what I have given you tons of suggestions for those of you that actually follow me, with investing for my grandchildren, the things that I had done for my own children and how well they're doing now. I told you all this videos ago. Okay? And I will say it again. No one can tell my story better than me. So please stop listening to whatever you hear from another content creator about me, because it's not true. If you got something to ask me personally. I'll tell you if it's not too intrusive, okay? I'm not an elitist, but I am a very well-off black woman in terms of everything in my life. Not just my bank account. I'm talking about everything. And as those of you who follow me know, I go where I want, whenever I want to. And you know it. You have seen more than enough live streams from me taking day trips all over this country and even out of this country. Even as far as Paris, I've done that, and you have seen me do it. So I'm not just saying shit to sound like I got it like that, because you've seen me do it. But I'm saying that as an example of who I am. And to show that the small person too many people on here try to paint me out to be is not who I am then, now, or ever will be. So it's okay if they want to attack me. I have no problem with that, because it doesn't affect me like that. But the only thing I want to do, and that I will continue to do, is to provide to black women that want to listen and who are not engaged in us versus them antics between black women, where it is this age group versus another age group, and they recognize that as black women, all of us, regardless of our age, need to be loving, caring, and providing, and being concerned with one another. That's it. That's it. Okay? The past has nothing to do with what you're doing presently and what you need to do going forward. It's funny how those particular women always want to focus on one group of women, but they don't want to ever consider the external or extenuating factors that made all those women, up to the ones they only want to complain about, who they are and how society and life and history has affected them. So, child, I'm fine. I just don't like people lying on me. So when I heard the situation where she was lying about the fact that I was associated with LGBT people in California, not the case. Not the case at all. I was concerned with Ori, who originally was down with Rosa. And when Ori didn't respond to me, she said she had posted months before on Nyla's channel about the march. I said to myself, I'm going to go find out with my own two eyes. And when I got there, there was no march. I spent the rest of that weekend enjoying myself in California, okay? And when I finished that Sunday, I got back on the plane. I got back home to New York City by 7 p.m., got myself prepared for work the next day, got up and went. That's what happened. So, listen, when it comes to me, I don't have problems with black women of any age, because we're all black women. Am I going to be the person that she's raving about, and that's her right to do, trying to put myself down and other black women of my time down about some imaginary or whatever, however consequential it may be to the individual of a group of women who supposedly let them down? No, I'm not. That has nothing to do with me. And collectively, black women on a whole are not responsible for pockets of people who have done things that were dysfunctional in their life and the people that they come from or that they sired. I don't have anything to do with that family or any other family that decided to treat their daughters badly. My daughters were treated wonderfully, as was I, regardless of my parents being hooked on a narcotic because of my father being drafted to the Vietnam War. All right? As you know, as black people, we are a polymorphic people that suffer with a lot of traumas. But we also are a people who love hard and who got a lot of black joy going on within our lives and our homes, despite whether or not we are the richest black people, the poorest black people, or whatever. Everybody ain't out here struggling and suffering and crying about being black. We don't look at it. Those of us that love our blackness and love everything about the people we come from, and we understand their trials, and their triumphs, we don't sit around complaining and thinking that their life or our color is a stain that we're wearing through life. We don't think we have that human stain. We think that we're blessed, and we keep pushing forward, and we don't try to live and dwell in negativity and negative influences that don't move us forward but keep us stagnant in nonsense. So, black women, let me tell you this from me to you. Please do yourself a favor. Stop getting involved with all of these cliques and these terminologies that society puts out for you to separate yourself from another group of black women. I know you guys really don't like to listen to older, dark black women, but it is not going to work in your benefit. The separation and divide, the us versus them, psychology and sociology never works in your favor. It always causes problems, anger, resentment, and hatred towards each other. And do you know what that equals for the future? Demise. If you are sitting here focusing all your energy on worrying about what could have been, what should have been, or what you think somebody did to you intentionally, when you're not willing to understand their journey, you just looking to defeat yourself. That's all you looking to do. When you're grown, I don't care how hard you had it as a child, you're grown now. So you move forward and you do grown things. Sorry, y'all, it's New York City. And you do grown things and you do grown responsible things. When you're struggling in life, like there was a part where she spoke to grief. I understand grief, okay? My grandparents and my parent has been dead for over 15 years now. And there's not a day that I don't mourn them and that I don't feel like, despite my family and my immediate family, I still feel like I'm alone in this world because the people I cared about the most are no longer here. So I understand mourning, but what I don't understand is not having the wherewithal enough to know that when you are suffering, you need to reach out for help. Okay, that's it. Just get help. If you need to speak to someone who is a clinical professional or a licensed professional to help you through the dark times, you need to do that. And stop staying stagnant in the moment of blaming and shaming. Because all that does, whether you want to accept it or not or understand it, is continue the vicious cycle. That's all it does. Okay? There's no gaslight. There's no denial of the fact that black women culturally in certain areas of America have been taught to prefer sons over daughters and have treated their daughters horribly. I myself have suffered some of the typical mistreatment of young black girls in life. I was violated by one of my mother's boyfriends after my father died, and I was visiting my mom, and my mom he roofied my mother and did that so he could attack me. So these are things we live through. And like I said, when older women explain their experiences, and they just explain that we're human and we got to be allowed to be human, live, grow, learn, and change, right? That's not accepted. But for younger women that are on here bitching and complaining all the time, you want to be heard, you want to have your feelings acknowledged and be seen, and even made whole, but you don't want to allow anyone else to. So as long as you stay standing in that spot, you're going to stay there. And that's all I got to say to all of this anymore, ever again, because listen, I'm a happy woman. I am a blessed, and I've been blessed. I have a lot in life. A lot. As you can see. You don't never see me coming on here depressed, sad, or talking about something that's dragging me down in life. I'm always coming on here talking about black women unity, solidarity, and black women joy. Like when we get together and we talk about what we could do once we come together, that's what I'm all about. That's it. And I will be opinionated because it's my culture. It's how I was raised. For those of you that don't know anything about where I'm from, we are not cowards. We don't take kindly to people trying to argue us down or push us down. The first thing we're taught to do is fight, because that's the type of environment we live in. So for those of you that come from the Midwest, the South, or wherever, all right, and you're taught to be more docile, or that's just your personality, you're not going to fault me for having mine. You're not. And I'm never going to be punked by anybody or made to feel bad about who I am. And I'll tell you why. It's because I love me with all of me. And there will be no level of criticism, name calling, or talking shit about me that's ever going to make me hold my head down in shame or feel sorry for waking up that morning or being comfortable for living in the skin that I come in. It's not going to happen. So listen, I don't have no problem with black women doing right by other black women, but I do have a problem with black women trying to exploit black women for money, like Princella and others, right? And black women that come on here to use YouTube as a way of hurting black women to keep them stuck in places where they don't need to be. When the world out here is hard enough for black women as it is to get us to live the way we need to in this world, you ain't got time for no psychological issues where you stuck in hate and anger and I just can't push past this shit and do what I need to do for today. You ain't got time for that, y'all. So if y'all gonna fault me for that and talk shit about me and tell my story, just make sure you tell my story correctly. Make sure you add in the clip where I'm telling you about me so you get it right. And all of this shit out here that's not correct about me, it is made right, you know? Hey, I love black women. I ain't never gonna stop. It has been part of my life to have black women attack me, hate me for being me, hate me for loving other black women and wanting to see black women just be progressive. I don't have no problem with y'all hating me or hating on me. It's good. It's all good. Believe me. Just don't stop the young women from living the as prosperous lives they could have without all that mental baggage. Just don't do that to them because they don't deserve it. Which is why I'm always talking to y'all about getting into politics, getting your education, whether that is a serious ass certificate that gets you into making six figures or close to it, or that degree that brings you to a lifestyle that no one in your family has ever gotten to. That's what I'm all about. And enjoying life and being happy and loving the company of other black women that look like me. They ain't gotta think like me. They ain't gotta be like me. They just gotta be black like me. And that's what I like about being in those companies. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. So, younger black women and those older black women that wanna participate in the us versus them, and we need to be flogged in public because parents made mistakes parenting. Y'all go ahead and do that. I ain't got time for that. I got other things in life to do. Y'all remember I told you I got my London trip to be planned. And you see how I am? I'm planning a grieving trip for my childhood girlfriend who has known me since I have been 13 years old, has been with me longer than any other significant partner, anyone else besides my own actual mother and grandmother and siblings, okay? Her mother recently passed. And for my girl, my woman, my bestie, right? I plan to take her to see her family that she has not seen in a while. And let her splurge and let her completely unwind and feel 100% protected by her sister. That's all I ever want for black women, opinionated or not. And if you can't get with that and you can't respect me for being me, you are free to not deal with me. I'm going to get back to my chips and dip. Y'all have a good day, all right? I'm going to continue watching Shirley Chisholm's story on Netflix, and y'all be well. I'll be back when I can, and I'm still working on that permit, all right? I'm trying to find another location they will give me the yes for, because every location I've picked, because of all of the rioting in New York, because of the fact that the mayor's got the FBI investigating him, there's so much stuff going on that I'm not aware of in the municipalities of New York City. Every time I pick a site, they're like, you can't have that. I'm like, well, goddamn, where can I go? Because I want to be seen, and I want to be able to try to get the news to address what I'm talking about. So I'm really going through it right now. We're trying to deal with something that's passionate to me about black women. So forgive me if I don't give a fuck about people being upset with the fact that I refuse to be mentally burdened with something I don't have nothing to do with, nor can I change. If the damage is done, the damage is done. Let's move on, okay? Let's get some therapy. Let's move on. Y'all have a good day. Be well. If you want to know me, come to me, okay? Because clearly the rumors out there in La La Land of YouTube, they're not getting it right when it comes to me. Have a good day, y'all. Be well.